Hello, and thanks for joining me today. So this is part 6 in our RHCSA practice exam series. The previous video was on the objective, this objective, that's how to creating and configuring file systems. We did see NFS and using ext for file systems, for example, and mounting file systems to persist reboots. In this video, what we are going to look at is objective number 6, which is to deploy, configure, and maintain systems. To do that, we've got tasks that we're going to go through, questions that we're going to practice with. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and give a like. Share with anyone who you think might find this useful. Let's look at the first task here. It's straightforward, I believe. It's asking us to use cron. So it says here, create a cron job for user Hadoga that runs logger. So RHCSA, this is the message that should be executed every 2 minutes. So it should say logger RHCSA playlist now available, which is in fact true in our case. It should run every 2 minutes. And then use @. So @ here is also another tool for scheduling tasks. So use @ to write this task was easy to this particular file, and that should happen in 2 minutes. That's in the next 2 minutes. So cron, if you're new to cron, cron tab is what I think you should be familiar with. So cron tables. First, let's see if the service is running. So if you start by checking systemctl status cron D is the daemon, it is enabled and running. If that's not the case, I always check if it's running, because in the exam scenario, it could be that it is not running by default, and you would have to do that. So you could enable that systemctl now enable -- now is just so it comes up after a reboot, so it starts automatically after a reboot. So enable cron D. I am doing this because let's assume that it's not running, and yeah, it's helpful for you to understand cron or cron tabs. I usually go to this file to see the structure, the syntax, to see how to write my own cron tab. So cat etc cron tab. This will give you, it says every 2 minutes. So how do you even do that? For you to do that, you need to understand how cron works. So this an example. So a cron job, for instance, would have these parameters, these 5 key parameters, and then you execute the command. You can specify a user if you like, and then the command to be executed. In this case, let's say the first item here, that's this first asterisk, is the minute, and then the next one is the hour. We've got the another one, which is the day of the month, so from 1 to 31st, and we've got the month itself, 12 months, and then day of the week. So starting from 0, it means 0 is Sunday, so Sunday can be 0 or 7. You need to get this. So I usually just cut this file just in case if you forget what the syntax is. To check what cron tail entries are already existing, you can do cron tab -l. It's going to show the cron tabs for the particular user. Now I am user root, but as root, I can list the cron tabs of any user I want. So the user we're talking about is this Hadoga. So there is no cron tab entries for user Hadoga. Also, we can create this task. We can do this task logged in as root, but we need to specify the user we want. We can also use the user itself to create the cron tab. So what do I mean? We can log in as this particular user, the user we have been asked to create We can log in as user Hadoga to create this cron tab. But since we are already logged in as root, I'll show you how we can do that logged in as root. So to create a cron tab, so you do cron tab -e, you're editing the cron table. In this case, we want to do that for this particular user, user Hadoga. So keep in mind these fields, minute, hour, day, month, and day of the week. So cron tab -e-u for this particular user that we want to edit. So if I hit enter, that's, you hit insert because it's Vim essentially. So hit insert. It's every, the question says every 3 minutes. If it's only asterisks, is it every 2 minutes? Every 2 minutes. And for hour, that's every hour, day, day of the month. And so let's see, one, we've got every 3 minutes, every 2 minutes, every hour, every day of the month, every month, every day of the month, and every day of the week. So if we let me be sure. Well, we can let's put the message first. So the message says what we want to do is to run this command logger RHCSA playlist playlist now available. Let me just do exactly what they've asked. Now available. So let me write this, write and quit. If we now do, let me bring this up a bit. If we now say cron tab -l for user Hadoga, you can see it's there. And for this syntax, so this is every 2 minutes rather than every minute, and every hour, every day of the month, and every month, and also every day of the week. That's going to run. After 2 minutes, we're going to get another message, and we can check that later. But if it's not in varlog, oh, okay, of course it is there in varlog messages. So varlog messages, yes, we have that, and after 2 minutes it's going to display another message. So the next task is to use @. Is another tool for scheduling jobs. We can check if it's running. The daemon is @d, so systemctl status @d. It's not there, we can install dnf, just dnf install @d -y, dnf install @-y. So hit enter. It's going to update and install. Yes, we have that. So systemctl enable. Now we want to enable @d. Systemctl status @d. Yes, we have @d is running just fine. So the task is asking us to use to write it. This task was easy, and save it. We are writing to this this location. So @files, and then the file is @.txt, but we don't have @files. So let's create an mkdir /@files. So we have that. The message is this task was easy. So we want to echo this task was easy, and we want to put that in @files, and the file is @.txt, and so this is the message itself. Now we want to use @, so we are taking this and feeding it to @. So @now plus that syntax plus 2 minutes. So now start from now, and in 2 minutes, in 2 minutes time, do this. So we are taking this and feeding to the command to run this in 2 minutes. So if I hit enter, That's it. At Q. Yeah, it's going to show you the list. It's just going to list the jobs. So at 8:18, now it's 8:17. So at 8:18, it should create the file at .txt in at files. So if I ls at files, yeah, it's already created. So we can cut at .txt. Oh, we are not in that directory. Apologies. ls, yes. So cut at .txt. Yes, this task was easy. That's it. So that's one way to do another way you could just say at. So now is 8. The time, my local time here is 8:18. So at, let's say at 8:20 a.m. if you hit enter, now it will ask you to type in the commands you want. What do you want to happen at this time? But I find this syntax to be a bit, I don't know. It's easier to just use a single line. That's just the point. So if you do, when you're done, you can do Control D. No. Let's. I used command instead. Sorry, Control D, and it's going to log whatever you do. But just use a single line as I just showed. I think it's easier that way. So the second task is local yum repository configuration. For this task, you're supposed to configure base OS, that's yum repository, base OS, and AppStream. So locally, usually, we've been doing DNF install. DNF install, for example, I can say DNF install git. That's if I do not have git on this computer. It's going to it says, you see here, it says updating subscription manager repositories. This RHEL Red Hat repository. I did not set this up myself. I just registered the system to the Red Hat repository using the Red Hat repository manager. In the exam scenario, you would have to set up your own repository. The server will be provided for you. That's if it's a hostname or a URL, so that you can download or install any package from the server itself, from the repository server. And that is a very easy task. But you can always check, you can go to, let's go back home. You can go to etc yum.repos.d directory. If you ls, you can see we've got one repository, and that's the Red Hat repository, redhat.repo. So for us to respond to answer this particular question, let me try and move this a bit. We're going to create our own repository. So we are here now, so we can vim, let's call it RHCSA.repo. So hit enter, insert. We already provided with the two repositories that we're going to create. So let's start with the first one, which in this case is BaseOS. This is the syntax, BaseOS. So I want to give it a name. So maybe I can say BaseOS RHCSA, and then what's the direction, the URL. Base URL is http repo.rhcsa.home /repo/baseOS. I am taking that from here, /baseOS. This base URL could be your local, it could be a file. So if it's a file, you specify, you say file here, and then you add another / for file. It's like you're referencing a file. But here we are being asked to reference a server, repository server. So we have name, and then it's good to have enabled to yes, enabled yes, enable true, or enable one. Let's say enable one, and then GPG check. So it should check GPG check GPG keys. We don't want to do that. We trust the repository. And we have AppStream, the second one from the question. It says AppStream. So AppStream, AppStream. What is the name? We want to call this AppStream RHCSA RHCSA, and base URL is HTTP repo, same server, repo the RHCSA RHCSA dot home repo AppStream. Enabled, yes. GPG check, I want that to be 0, and I think that's everything. So we have base URL, it's enabled, the name. So now just right quit. If you do DNF repo list to verify this, it's going to try to update. It's checking. So if you look closely now, this is the output from DNF repo list. Now we have AppStream and BaseOS, and you can see the name. The repo name is AppStream RHCSA and BaseOS RHCSA. These are the repos that we added ourselves. Not you can see there are Red Hat repositories that were there initially, but these are the repos we added ourselves, and that's here in etcom repos.d. If you ls, you see our file, which is RHCSA.repo, and that's it for that question. Next is NTP time service. So on RHEL 8, 9, and presumably 10, Chrony is the time service, not NTP anymore. So check if it's there. systemctl status Chrony D, that's the daemon. It is there, it is enabled. If that's not the case, you can just systemctl enable now Chrony D and hit enter. That's going to be there, and then we can systemctl status Chrony D just to be sure. Yes, it's there. So the config file that you need to set the time, the time, to set the synchronization server or the time server is chrony.conf. You can see there are examples there. There are servers already, so we just need to add ours. So I can do something like this and say RHCSA server, for instance. So it's a pool. It says add server. Okay, we can go with please consider joining a pool, this, that. If it's not specified, because okay, set up the time service to sync with RHEL. If it's not specified, we could just create a pool. You can create a pool. Just do the same thing that's already there. I can actually just copy this and paste here. I bust as well. So pool, this the server I'm adding for this particular task, and that's it. So right quit, we're done with that. But it's good to restart Chrony D, Chrony, then you do Chrony C sources. Just refresh this. So Chrony C sources, it's going to try and update on any server it's got available. So you can see the stratum, now which server is preferred, and any server that is not reachable in this, if there's any particular server that is not reachable, then that's not going to work. But as far as this task is concerned, you can that's how you add a particular service, a particular server to a particular time server. The final task we have is GRUB bootloader. So we need to update the GRUB bootloader to do to have these parameters. So set the GRUB timeout to 10, and the style should be hidden. And finally, you should add this keyword, the word quiet, to the end of this line, to this, and then apply the changes to the GRUB config. The GRUB config itself is in etc, so we vim etc default GRUB. So this where it is. So I can press I to enter the value 10. Then GRUB style timeout is hidden. So GRUB style, do we have GRUB style timeout? GRUB timeout is this, so we need to add that if it's not in. Yes, so I can, yeah, it's so GRUB timeout style, GRUB timeout style is hidden, and that's okay. GRUB timeout style is hidden, and then add quiet to GRUB cmd line Linux. Where's that? GRUB cmd line Linux, and that's this file. We'll go to the end of, okay, I will have to, so I'm going to the end of this line. I can actually use, if I wasn't in the insert mode, I can use the $sign to get there. But anyways, it says what, add quiet to the end of that line. That's it. So right quit, we are done. But applying, writing, editing, this is one thing. Applying this to the GRUB config file is another. So we use the GRUB to mk config. Yeah, GRUB to make config. Yeah, GRUB to make config. So we are we're using the output. We want to send this to boot GRUB. If I'm hitting tab, grub.cfg, enter, and then it's going to generate the config, and this adding boot menu entry to EFI. It's done, and that's it. That's us. All done now. So the next video will be on, let's see, where's the next video is going to be on managing basic networking, and this is where we'll do tasks like assigning IP address to your server, DNS details, making sure it persists after a reboot, things like that. I would like to thank you for watching, and please subscribe and give a thumbs up, share with anyone that would benefit from this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.